So this table shows us 3 different studies, and so let's take a look. Remember, the null could just always have the equal sign. Looks like in these 3 situations, they actually included the equal sign, but they have a greater than symbol, thus this would be less than, but they have greater than or equal to. In this case, it says equal to, and this one it says not equal to. So that's the appropriate symbol. And in case C, or study C, it says that they are less than or equal to, so this would be that greater than. So these are the p-values. So the p-value, if you recall, is the probability that the evidence you received, that you gathered, would be true under the assumptions that the null is true, it's a normal distribution, etc. So looking at these, I'm going to move the decimal 2, so this could be 2.5%. If I move 2, it's 0.18%. And if I move 2, this is 39.5%. So if you recall, a small p-value says that the data is not very likely. It's unusual if the null and the other assumptions are true. So for which study do the results show the most support for the null? So that would be a large p-value. So it looks like study C. Letter B. Suppose study A got the data and it supported the alternative. That means it did not support the null. So if something doesn't support the null and you make a change, you reject it or not support the null, but find out that you are in an error, because it basically says that the true average is really less than 54, and that's exactly what it was saying. But in fact, the true average is greater than. So your data supported that it was less than, but in reality it really is greater than. So it's really following this symbol right here. So you've made an error. That would be a type 1 error, because you did not support the null, but you actually should have. So you were in error. If the results of study A are statistically significant, that's a phrase that you needed in your midterm project, and what that says is the data does not support the null. In other words, your data is unusual if your assumptions are true. So which hypothesis is supported? If it doesn't support the null, it's going to support the alternative. And lastly, these are the directions of the test, whether they're two-sided or one-sided. So if you look at study A is saying that the alternative is less than. So if I'm thinking of a number line, less than is on my left, so it's one-sided to the left. Study B says not equal to, so that's two-sided. I'm not sure if I'm going to be greater than or less than. And the last one, for this one it says study C. Study C is looking at greater than, so that would be to my right. So again, I'm thinking about numbers that are bigger than, it doesn't really matter what I put here, but numbers bigger than 5 are on my right, and that's how we determine the direction. So you'll have something like this in practice problems, on the quiz, and on your final exam. You're going to need to read a table and be able to identify the most support for the null, okay, and it's only supporting. We could have made an error, and this is the least support. So you are going to have percentages that you need to interpret, or decimals. So to move a decimal into percentage, recall you move it 2 places to the right.